Well, welcome everybody. You're watching NRL from the Sidelines, and that's sponsored by Rock Australia Radio. Thank you, Don. Check out Rock Australia Radio on streaming live. As you can see, Steve is not here tonight. We have Brian.
Poor Steve, off jaunting around the world again.
He is, as he often is. I didn't have a cardboard cutout of him like he often has for his players. And we have no Adam Reynolds tonight, I'll be glad to tell you.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk about the games from last week, and the first game was at 300 Smile Stadium. The Cowboys took on the Broncos.
Before we start, how many tips did you get right, Tom?
I got 6.
All-time low, I was down to 2.
Really? I was going really well. I had 6 out of 6, and then I tipped the Raiders to beat the Tigers, which was a dumb idea. And look, I thought the Storm were going to beat the Sharks as well.
We'll talk about the Storm slump.
I'm glad I didn't play my joker. That's one good thing.
All right.
So Cowboys 34, Broncos 30. Who did you tip in this one?
Oh, that would be the Broncos.
Really? Okay.
Yes. I didn't get any right for a long time.
Well, I thought the Cowboys would aim up because they played well against the Roosters in the second half last week. So I really thought that they'd actually kick on.
Yeah, this was an odd game though. I thought the Broncos were in it and in it and in it, and then they just couldn't seem to put them away.
It was a classic Cowboys Broncos game, wasn't it? Really. Oh
look, and full kudos for the Cowboys for hanging in there. They were I thought they were done, and then they came back and they scored 3 tries in the last 20 minutes and were well on top by the end.
Sure.
So fantastic.
Yep.
Not much to say about the Broncos, though.
Yeah, look, the Broncos are hot and cold, aren't they? And they've had 2 losses now, I think, in a row.
2 in a row.
They're sitting precariously in 8th position, just 2 points ahead of the Tigers. And look, they've got a tough run. They've got the Rabbitohs and then the Roosters, and then I don't know who else after that. So they're 2 tough games. Oh, Manly. Oh, well, at least one they'll win.
3 tough games coming up for the Bronx. 3. They could lose their next 3.
Yeah, well, maybe. So yes, look, it was a good performance by JT and the Cowboys, and sounds like a band, doesn't it?
JT.
And look, it's possible that the Cowboys are going to send JT out on a good note. Well, he's doing it. He's going to possibly send himself out on a good note.
Can I just tell you, Tom? In all seriousness,
you can.
I'm willing the Cowboys to the spoon.
Geez, I wonder what. Really? I don't think I wouldn't like to see them.
Hey, not even Parramatta. I'm willing the Cowboys to the spoon, not Parramatta.
Why?
So that JT can truly say he's won everything.
You're a cruel man.
Cruel maybe, but it's funny.
Well, we took a short break then because we're experiencing a little bit of a lag in video to audio, and I do apologise for that tonight.
Tom,
I've done nothing.
No, Steve's fault. Steve, stop it.
I followed your instructions. Nevertheless, if you're willing to persist, here we go. We're up to round 2. Game 2. Sorry. Friday night, the Warriors hosted the Knights, and the Warriors were significant victors, 20-4. What do we want to say about that?
I didn't pick the Warriors.
I picked the Warriors.
I don't know how anyone can pick them.
I think I'm off picking the Knights now. I don't think I can pick the Knights again.
Yeah, but seriously, I can't pick the Warriors. So
yeah.
What do we say about that game? Good win, solid win,
and a win that they needed.
Yep.
To hang on to 7th place.
Yeah, absolutely. And what were the stats for your old friend
Tuivasa-Sheck? He ran for almost probably a season high, 338 metres, back to vintage Tuivasa-Sheck.
I think I was reading somewhere that he's averaging 200 metres a game, Tom.
Yeah, well, he's probably just behind Blake Ferguson. But even their bench, 2 of their bench players ran for 100 metres each. You know, I mean, that's significant. They obviously dominated the stats.
Well, what do we say about the Knights then?
I don't know. I think the Knights have probably overachieved now for this season. I think their season's been interrupted by the injury to Mitchell Pearce, and I think they've never quite been able to get their momentum back. I think that's my feeling about it anyway.
Yeah, bit of a shame. Yeah, I don't mind the Knights.
Yeah, look, I think everybody wants the Knights to succeed now after spending three years, as wooden spooners.
Would you call it success at the moment?
Well, I think that they would be very disappointed in the back end of the season, but they would be heartened by the fact that they were able to win some games at the beginning. And I think if they can get a fit Mitchell Pearce on the paddock, and they're buying some good players. I mean, getting Jesse Ramey in from the Sharks.
That Manly junior that we let go.
Oh, really? Yeah. Another one.
Jeez, we're dumb. Manly's recruitment is terrible.
So look, I think if they start fresh next year, fit with a fit Mitchell Pearce particularly, I think I think the signs are good. Whether they'll make the 8 again next year, don't know. But I think if they're going to finish in about 10th and 11th, that's a pretty decent response from a team that struggled.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, I think that's pretty good. Well, match of the round. I don't think anybody argues this.
I argue.
Oh, right. Okay. It was the Rabbitohs who were hosting the Roosters on Friday night, and the Roosters held out for an 18-14 win. Did you watch this game, Brian?
I did.
Okay, what did you think? I went to the game.
Have you seen it on replay?
I've watched it, yes.
Yeah, I always find it hard when you're at the game to be objective. I agree. I thought the Rabbitohs were good in the first half. I think they had enough possession and ball and movement to put a massive score on the Roosters, and they just couldn't do it. They looked a bit disorganised in attack, and the Roosters took full advantage of that. And when possession swung back around in the second half, as it tends to do, I think the Roosters took full advantage. I don't think either of those teams were at their best. They've both played better this year,
sure,
which is scary because I think they were a step above everyone else this round, and I think that they can both improve. So that bodes good for you and Steve, and that's all I have to say.
I thought our defence was exceptional. You're right. I think the Rabbitohs pressed us. They threw the kitchen sink at us.
Yeah,
honestly.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the really significant things that the Roosters did was, and I'm not technical enough to see this myself, but I can see it and appreciate it, is that when they stopped the quick play the balls as much as possible.
They shut down Damien Cook.
But when and the way they shut him down was the markers withdrew apparently. So they withdrew very quickly back into the line to not give him that space to go around them and to find a hole. I thought he was well contained the whole game. He rarely got an opportunity. I think their forwards got monstered by our defence. I think that they ran for a lot of metres, but I don't think they had a lot of impact in the end. And I think the old Bondi wall was there to see on Friday night. It was good. It was really, really good.
You must have got that from a
both teams only scored 2 tries.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they were classic tries, any of them. Joseph Manu was brilliant 1-out effort to score his try. Adam Reynolds, caught us napping just near the line, and that brilliant sort of back pass to Richie Kenner or Heimel Hunt, I think it was, right in the corner, just got caught the Roosters unawares. So look, you're right. I think neither of them were at their best. I think that the Roosters' defence was what won them the game, and I was really pleased. I was actually really pleased to see a great defensive effort. I expected this kind of scoreline. I didn't think there'd be much in it.
Yeah, I couldn't. You couldn't tell. If it was 30-20, it wouldn't have surprised me. It was just 2 really good teams.
But I was expecting a low-scoring game, and that's actually not a low-scoring game. I was expecting less points even than that.
Yeah, I reckon 2 tries each. See,
that's a pretty.
I reckon modern game 2 tries each. I think 12 points is not even a big win.
Yeah,
but that's just me.
Thomas Burgess was given man of the match. I think he actually went off for an HIA, and he probably was the best of the forwards. I think. Ran for a lot of metres. And,
certainly.
The Roosters, I think Blake Ferguson was good again. I mean, he made a couple of errors, and he often does, but he counters that with a lot of other good stuff.
They don't want you, Blake. They don't want you.
It's always a shame. Jared Ria-Hargraves has come away with fractured ribs.
Yep.
He'll be out for 4 weeks. That's a big blow to us already with our Keary. Look, Cooper Cronk's defence was exceptional.
Yeah.
He led by example with his defence. I mean, there was that try that was nearly scored from that kick, loose ball. In fact, I'd said to my mate Brennan, who was sitting next to me, I said, Blake Ferguson needs to get back because he was covering his fullback. I said, he needs to get back, surely. And he said, oh, don't worry, we've got the ball. I said, yeah, but it doesn't take much. And within 2 play the balls, they picked up a loose ball, kicked it, and then kicked it again. Braden Burns was tackled near the line. He threw the ball back in, and it was only Cooper Cronk who stopped Cody Walker from scoring.
Yeah.
Desperate defence. I thought that was exceptionally good. So, pleased performance. We're on top. That doesn't mean a lot at the moment because the top 4 is very fluid.
Yep.
Absolutely. Anyway, good performance. So we're going to Saturday afternoon to Seabus Super Stadium. Titans played the Panthers, and again, 3 times in a row now, the Panthers have found a way to get themselves out of jail.
Yeah, but this actually was out of jail because this was not a good game.
Right.
This was the opposite of the Roosters. Who'd you play? Oh, Souths game. I mean, it was sloppy. Titans just couldn't do anything. I thought their tries were streaky, and I actually thought the Panthers, it was probably their worst game of the season.
Right.
And it says something that they still managed to come back and win.
Well, given the week that they've had, losing their coach under very controversial circumstances, a lot of chaos within the club. They are going away, which possibly was a good thing, going away from Penrith.
Yep.
And getting away from it all. But yeah, they continue to leave it to the last minute to come back and win, which is both worrying for them as a team, but concerning for anybody they play because you just don't know if you get ahead.
You can't ever put it down as a win.
You can't.
And the big news out of that, more than anything else, is James Maloney.
Yes, he's carrying a number of injuries at the moment.
But it's 2 to 3 weeks, I believe, now, with his knee. It'll be interesting to see how they perform without Maloney.
You know what? They'll probably bring somebody like Luai in, and they'll play Cleary and Luai or Cleary and May.
I love Tyrone May. I don't know. I know that he's on the bench, but oh my goodness, what a good player he is.
Look, it's another chance for Nathan Cleary to shine. And it could be good because I think there were times there during the season where one perhaps wasn't so good for the other, and so it might be a chance for Nathan Cleary to shine.
Yeah, they will bring Tyrone May in, and what they did, they made the finals last year with Tyrone May and Luke Cleary. What's his name?
Nathan Cleary.
I have full faith in the Panthers that they will continue on.
Yeah, look, I think they're in 4th position now, so I think other teams should be wary.
Yes.
Definitely. So that's enough of that one.
Now, match of the round.
Yes.
Match of the round.
Right, well, I didn't see this game because I was actually supporting a mate with a game that he was playing.
Yep.
So tell me about this game. It was Sea Eagles 18 beat the Bulldogs 6 at Lottoland.
At McGrath
Foundation Oval, which is Brookvale.
We did it better than everyone else.
Whatever. 2 tries to Tommy Trbojevic.
Yes.
And 1 for Adam Fanua-Blake.
Oh look! What a strange game. Like I said,
Just 1. Sorry.
I will say right now, as I said to you, have you watched the game? I have not watched the replay of this game.
Okay.
I was there live, even though I promised myself I would not go again.
Oh, you went
this year.
again?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you went.
Oh, I couldn't resist it. The Bulldogs, talk about throwing everything at you. The Bulldogs threw everything at Manly.
Right.
The first half, they totally dominated possession. I think it was 80-20 or something. It was a ridiculous amount of possession that they had, and they just couldn't crack the line. I know they don't have the attacking weapons of Souths, but I tell you what, that Bondi wall was... Oh, hang on a second.
The fortress, the Brookvale Fortress.
The Brookvale Fortress was back. No, it was a really solid defensive performance. 2 tries disallowed in that first half to Manly. Every time they went down to the Bulldogs half, which was twice.
Yep.
4 times. So 2 penalty goals. Lev gave them 4 points to 6 at half time. One of them, I've got to have an NRL ref explain it to me. Tom's gone up.
Yes.
To contest the ball, and he's gone up, and the ball has gone from his hand up.
Right.
And he's regathered. So he's jumped. The ball's bounced out of his hands.
Yep.
He's regathered and scored.
Oh, he actually hit it in the air, and it went over another.
Went over David Clemens' head.
So technically.
So no. But the rule is intentionally throwing it forward.
Well,
I can't see.
It probably wasn't, but it could
yeah.
be construed as intentional.
When the ref calls try on the field, it's a try. Anyway,
you completed well.
Yes. Yes. Look.
And you had a sin bin.
Yes, Trent Hodkinson was sin binned, and
the Bulldogs. That's not the first time he's been sin binned this year.
Well, they couldn't score, so we played the last 10 minutes of the first half, a man down, and like I said, it was a really good performance. I was just happy to win. On a side note, though,
yes.
Although, and I've also said I'll never go to another Bulldogs game again. Not a fan of their fans.
Right.
So I actually went with a mate of mine who does support the Bulldogs and took up my usual position on the 25-metre line, right at the try-scoring end, and it was quite pleasant. And then the Bulldogs supporters showed up, all around me.
Right.
That great big drum was probably 5 metres away. And the character, the Bulldog Wallace.
Braveheart?
Yeah, Braveheart, whoever he is,
Yeah,
Brave Dog or whatever he calls himself. My goodness, that man has a mouth.
Yeah.
He is loud.
Right.
And he was, and at 6-4 at half time, he was absolutely giving it.
Right. So Dogs were leading 6-4.
Yes,
okay.
and I must admit, in the second half, when Manly started to come back, I will take my hat off to that group of supporters. They took it as well as they gave it, and and I even went up to him after the game and said, "Mate, well played. That was atmosphere is fantastic with fans like yourself." I thought it was really well done, and I think it's something that should be encouraged. I don't know how the NRL would do that for particular fans. So and in my mind there are fans that stand out. The Raiders have their little squad that lead the Viking clap, and they sing basically entirely through the match. It drives you bonkers. There's this guy. There's that nutter from the Roosters. Jiggity jiggity.
He goes to every game, everywhere.
He annoys the daylights out of me. So there are fans that do that, and that's where the NRL needs to connect with the fan base, because if you get a group of 15 or 20 people like that at a game, it's infectious.
Yes.
It really was infectious. Your team's winning or losing, these guys and girls. They carry that enthusiasm, and as long as the banter stays clean, oh my goodness, it's fantastic.
And they're the faithful few, unfortunately, because numbers have been down, but there's still those faithful, iconic people.
Yep.
Anyway, we need to move on to the last game on Saturday night, which was the Eels playing the Dragons. Now, I tipped the Eels because I actually thought that the Dragons were, I've got to say, Barry, clueless, really, up until Saturday night, and I thought the Eels had really started to get some rhythm. And look, 40-4. I mean, it was a massive performance. Jared Hayne scored 3 tries, not one out, but I mean, he scored 3 tries. He was everywhere he needed to be.
From the wing.
Yes, and look, since his purported illness has been over, he's actually been really good. The last 6 weeks, I think he's been. He's not back to himself because he's older, but I think he's playing classic sort of Jared Hayne. Really good.
I want to defend the Dragons here. So Barry, let me start. You guys got nothing.
That's a defence. That's a defence.
There is no. It's
got nothing.
It's indefensible. That's the problem. I mean, we're talking about a team here that have, and as I said, I defended the Dragons last week, saying, yeah, you can have a few off weeks. Yep. They've been in the top 4 all year. Parramatta have been in the bottom 2 or 3 all year.
Yep.
Here comes the time for the Dragons to make a statement where they're playing last place. And this is to keep them in the 4, home semi-final, second bite of the cherry. 36 points.
There's definitely something wrong in their heads. I
will say this: Parramatta are playing well, and that's a combination of things. So Mitchell Moses is running the ball. Jared Hayne is where he's supposed to be. Paul McGregor, I'll give you a tip: when half your team gets picked for Origin, you got to give them a break.
Yeah, I think that's a huge mistake that he made. And hopefully he'll learn from that. If he remains, I mean, that's another. Yeah,
I mean, I'm just saying, like the Dragons, and I said it last week. The Dragons have been dominating teams with their defence and their attack. They're brutal in the forwards. That kind of game's taken a toll, and now they're falling off tackles. They're not hurting when they hit, and I think it's really telling.
Well, they've lost Vaughan. They've just lost Gareth Widdop for an indeterminate amount of time. It could even be the season with a shoulder dislocation. Ben Hunt has not stepped up since Origin. No. He had a terrible Origin. He got demoted to the bench, and I don't know whether psychologically that's hit him. He's not been a kind of player who's been very resilient, unfortunately.
Yep.
And the forwards are tired. So
they do look tired.
So I think they've lacked direction. They've lacked energy. And it's pretty sad because it's almost like history repeating itself for the 3rd year in a row. But I'll tell you what, the Eels have got energy to burn.
Yeah.
93% completion. They completed virtually all of their 44 sets. That's a massive amount of football. 60% possession.
Yeah.
They're riding high at the moment. We're playing them the last game of the season. And they're going to be wanting to make a statement without getting the spoon. So.
I wonder if the Dragons can fix this, though. That's my big concern. Can they fix it?
Well, they're going to have to do it quick.
I'd be tempted, if I was Paul McGregor, to just rest the entire forward pack and just say, yeah, we're gonna do it tough next week against the Tigers anyway.
Yeah.
Cop it if you lose, give the guys a rest, and come back strong.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is. And Barry, one of our faithful supporters and viewers, I know you're at the game. You posted pictures with you and your Eels mate. Can't have been a good feeling.
Wow, that's painful.
Particularly watching Gareth Widdop go off. That not that he's been in fantastic form, but he is so important to your team, and that was a pretty dismal performance. So that brings us to Sunday. The first game on Sunday was the Raiders versus the Tigers. And this is where I came undone for my perfect round. I tipped the Raiders at home because I thought, well, a lot of points in them. I think the West Tigers could have been a bit disrupted. But in the end, when I think about it, I should have thought to myself, the West Tigers got everything to play for.
You know? They do.
And that's what I didn't factor in. So I think Joey Leilua goes off for 10 minutes in the bin and they score 3 tries.
Yep.
And that was really the undoing of the game. I mean, they did come back at the Raiders in the second half, but it was too little too late. Yeah, look,
I've got to say, if the Knights were the most disappointing team, then the Raiders were the second. They were terrible.
I think they just can't wait for their season to be over. I mean,
Rapana kept him in the game. Rapana, whatever he wants to call himself, the really good winger.
Until the last moment when he actually passed the ball back to Kevin Nagama.
Yeah.
It was just a desperation move. They needed to get the ball down the other end.
Yeah, look, he's sensational. I don't know what's going on there, but the Raiders were actually really bad. The Tigers were unaffected by the whole Nathan Cleary, Ivan Cleary saga, and made them pay.
They've got incredible resilience, the Tigers.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've lost a few games they shouldn't have lost, but I think if they make the 8, watch out in that bottom 4 of the 8.
Oh yeah,
watch out because I think they're going to do some damage.
Yep,
honestly, because if they get into the 8, it's it'll be a little bit like the Cowboys last year.
Yep.
If they actually scrape into the 8, they'll be going, well, we scraped into the 8 We're going to make the most of this opportunity.
Yep.
And I'd be watching out if I was fifth, sixth or seventh. Yes, it was a pretty sound performance. And look, Farah, Benji, they're playing pretty good football.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And the last game of the round was Amy Park. The Melbourne Storm hosted the Sharks, and the Sharks got on with a gritty win of 17-14. And I don't know where the Storm are at the moment. Like, they're a bit lost.
Storm slump.
Yeah, well, I think they
Two
are.
games in a row. I can't. It's a long. You got to go back. Actually, one of our listeners will be able to tell us when the last time the Storm lost 2 games in a row. Sally, yes.
Yes, you can't be happy, Sally, with that performance. At home.
What I will say though is that did you see the first try from Jaden Brayley?
I did. That was a terrific try, but
that was a totally illegal try.
Yes.
I will not often defend Melbourne because they're arm pulling, tackle grabbling wrestlers, but Jaden Brayley grabs the ball from the play of the ball after Wade Graham.
He moved
sideways, taken 2 steps forward, and the markers are going.
He took out the markers.
Where are you going?
Yeah.
And Jaden Brayley scores.
Yeah.
That was terrible. That should have been called back.
At the time, I thought, wow, that was a great move by Jaden Brayley. And he did have to do a lot of work to score the try. So she probably shouldn't have been given the opportunity.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, but it was a scrappy game.
Yeah.
That's the way Sharks play. They play scrappy.
Yep.
You think, Sharks aren't playing well. But you know what? They end up winning.
Yeah. We've beaten both of these teams this year, so it doesn't matter. Wade Graham, he's probably done his medial ligament and will be gone.
Really? Jeez, he's had a bad year with injuries, isn't he?
He has indeed.
Really bad year with injuries.
Yep.
Valentine Holmes was superb again.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're talking about selling the farm basically to keep him from going to the Cowboys.
He'll go to the Cowboys.
You think?
I think.
Yeah.
He'll go back home to the Cowboys.
Wow.
That'll be, where I'm thinking he is.
I think the Storm are going to be having a hard look at themselves. But I thought this week, beware the team that plays the Storm because they got done over by the Rabbitohs. But 2 losses in a row, and particularly at Amy Park, that's a worrying sign.
Yeah, I don't know what's... like I said, I really don't know what's going on there. Do they bring Brady Croft back?
It's hard to know. Brady Croft's...
I like him. I know
he's got some skill. There's no doubt about it.
I know Manly have signed Kane Elgey during the week, but Brady Croft, I would have loved to have seen him come up.
Look, I think he's going to be a great player, but he's still got a few things to iron out, I think, in his discipline or something like that. But look, there's our round. So, question with notice, because we did sort of pre-discuss this. It's been a tumultuous week in rugby league, and I think we talked briefly about. We announced on Monday last week that Anthony Griffin had been outed had been kicked out by Penrith. In the meantime, I'm sure you're aware that there's been a lot of toing and froing between Anthony Griffin, Gus Gould, and Ivan Cleary about all the comings and goings. He said. He's wrong. What do you make of the whole debacle?
Okay. I believe that Phil Gould is a very prickly character, and he must be very difficult to work for. He sacked the last 3 coaches. Unfortunately, and a lot of criticism has been levelled at Hook because he's come out and said there was no falling out except for between Gus Gould and myself. And I think he had to do that because, unfortunately for him, like it or love it, he was sacked from the Broncos before picking up this Penrith gig. So I think he had to come out and say it wasn't an issue with the players. Right. He's been roundly criticised for that. And I think that's pretty poor because I believe that most of that criticism is coming from Gould associated press, so mostly Channel 9. I have a lot to say about that, and I really think that they need to keep their business separate there. The one shining light at this moment in time has been Ivan Cleary. he straight away went to the Tigers board and said, "I'm not going anywhere. I've got a contract with you guys," and he's actually been public about that as well.
Yeah.
And we all know, well, we all assume that the reason he was sacked is because Hook was sacked is because Gould was after Cleary.
Well, there's been a lot of innuendo about what actually happened, and I still don't understand what happened, and I don't think anybody really knows. But there were some talk about the fact that Ivan Cleary was given a heads up about an offer to him, and that possibly he went to the board to see whether he would seek a release. Now he's come out and said, "I never sought a release. I was never made an offer."
Yep.
It sounded a little bit, even though I like Ivan Cleary and he seems like a man of integrity, it looked a little bit like catch-up. This statement to me seemed a little bit like catch-up. Because some of the comments were, well, if he had thought all of those things, why didn't he come out and say it on Monday or Tuesday?
It's not his. I don't think it's his job to come out and say it. I'll defend him on that one.
Yeah, look, I don't know what the truth is. The other thing that Anthony Griffin said on Fox, and it was very much, Fox supports Anthony Griffin, Channel 9 supports Gus Gould.
Warring organisations,
And Anthony Griffin said that he was responsible for taking the shambles of a junior development and bringing them up to where they are today.
That's a big call.
Well, yeah, that's right.
That's a big call.
He probably had to defend his position.
Yep.
Gus Gould has come out the next day, which I thought was a bit of an overreaction, and has said, I think he embarrassed himself, which, that's a harsh thing to say when you have that kind of power on national television, to just suddenly say, well, he's wrong and he's embarrassed himself.
But saying that, like Penrith, we all know that Penrith have the largest junior area. They're the strongest club. There's more Penrith juniors playing in the NRL than anyone else.
Yes.
It was a silly statement. That was a silly statement.
Yeah.
But anyway,
he was trying to defend his position.
And just on a side note, I'm thinking this is a bad thing for my club. Like it or love it, Trent Barrett's at Manly and being an ex-Penrith junior coach, I'm concerned that now Phil's going to go after Trent Barrett, which I actually think Trent's done an interesting job at Manly, considering the resources and the talent and the injuries that we've had. And although I'm not a huge fan, I think that it's a bad look. Phil, it's a bad look for rugby league. You talk about how much you love the game, and you keep giving it black eyes. We don't like it.
Yes. I think Gus Gould's come out looking very badly. I think he's probably the worst out of all of this. People feel feel a bit sorry for Anthony Griffin.
Yeah.
He may or may not have deserved to be sacked, but certainly not 4 weeks out from the end of the season.
Yep.
Ivan Cleary may or may not have known about an offer and has decided, well, that too much heat. Tigers are not going to let me go. I'll just make the grand bold statement and make and up my stocks in the media.
Yep.
But certainly Gus Gould has come out. I don't think he's and I'm a great supporter of Gus. I think he's amazing the way his head is, and I personally, and I'll say this on screen, I actually think that he would make a good CEO of the NRL. I think he'd do Todd Greenberg's job a lot better, as long as you could give him a brief and let him do that.
Maybe. I'm not convinced.
Yeah, I know a lot of people wouldn't think that, and by all means, get on the Facebook site and tell me whether you think he's
wrong again,
dumb or not. Yes, yes, there was another thing I was going to say. But look, we probably dwelled on that long enough.
Yes, let's go to the NRL ladder.
Have a look at the ladder.
NRL ladder from Rock Australia Radio.
Yes.
We have in first place, the Roosters and the Rabbitohs.
No, I would defend that. We're first.
With the Roosters on top with for and against. Third place, Storm and Panthers. So that's your top 4. Is that set, Tom?
The Sharks are the only team I think that can threaten that.
Well, interestingly you say that, because in fifth place we have the Dragons, the Sharks and the Warriors, all on 28 points. We have the Broncos slipping down to 8th place with 26 points. One game behind them, the Tigers, who must be lamenting a couple of close losses this year.
That's for sure.
Now we have all of the following teams are now in contention for the wooden spoon. The Raiders on 18 points, the Knights on 18 points, the Sea Eagles on 16 points, the Titans on 16 points, Bulldogs, Eels and Cowboys on 14. All of those clubs could conceivably win the wooden spoon.
But I think really it comes down to 4 or 5 of them. I'm surprised the Titans are now in contention for the spoon. They were sitting mid, up sort of the 10, 11, 12 for a while.
Yep.
And they're starting to slip as well.
Well, the way it stands, any of those teams could finish 10th and any of them could finish with the spoon.
I can't connect to your Wi-Fi network.
Yeah.
You can reconnect to Wi-Fi from your Google Home app under
Wow.
Devices, then Set Up.
Thank you, Google. No more
I
now.
can't connect to your Wi-Fi network. You can reconnect to Wi-Fi from
Google doesn't like us.
I'm sorry, I'll just fix that.
I will continue on talking because I'm the talker. Round 23 is next, which is very interesting. We have the first game, of course, the Brisbane Broncos versus the Rabbitohs at Suncorp Stadium. Tom?
Let me just catch up. All right, so we're looking at round 23.
It's catching up.
Yes, I do a lot of that.
Very slowly.
Come on. Yes, Broncos versus Rabbitohs. Yes. Broncos are in 8th position and they've got 2 very tough games the next 2 weeks. The Rabbitohs will be smarting from losing. They'll also think that they didn't play as well as they'd like to have, and they'll be working really, really hard. The Broncos, I don't know what you're going to get from the Broncos, honestly. They just seem to have a fairly good game and then an ordinary game. And then they'll have a fairly good game and then an ordinary game. And you just don't know what you're going to get from the Broncos. It's hard to tip. They are at home.
That's not. Tip the Rabbitohs. They're coming second. They're playing well.
Yep.
Why would you not tip the Rabbitohs?
It depends on how desperate the Broncos are to stay in the 8, because they're realising that the Tigers are hot on their heels. So I think they'll be desperate. Whether desperate is enough, I don't know. I think I'll be tipping the Rabbitohs.
I'll be on the Rabbitohs, Steve.
Yep.
And Steve will be on the Rabbitohs. Let's pick for Steve as well. Steve will be on the Rabbitohs.
So Friday, the first game will be, the 6 o'clock game will be Sea Eagles playing at home again against the Titans. Look, the Titans, again, another team where you don't know what you're going to get. They never give up. But I think the Sea Eagles are a bit buoyed now. I actually think that they want to finish this season off well. Obviously, they want to avoid the spoon.
Yep.
And I think being at home, this is one of the few. Last week was one of the few games they've won at home, wasn't it?
Yes.
This
yes,
year.
It certainly was.
So I think they'll want to continue that on, and I think that they'll be winning, not comfortably, but I think they'll win by a few.
Yes. I hope that LG has a good game, but not good enough.
Well, you can show him the facilities while he's down there, and he might change his mind.
Steve will be picking the Sea Eagles.
The Storm take on the Eels. Storm at home again against a resurgent Eels. And look, the Storm...
Wow.
This is a hard game to tip, honestly.
Look, I'm not suggesting that I'm a betting man, but the Eels are 460 outsiders.
Right.
That is phenomenal for a team that's won a couple of games and looking reasonable against a team that is struggling to put points on the board.
Well, this could be not the Storm's season, but if they underperform again, they could lose confidence.
Well,
we all, Sally, we all hope that might be the case, but I'll be giving the Eels a chance in this game.
Well, I'll be on the Storm.
Okay.
And Steve will be on the Storm.
Yep, of course he will be, because second team. Saturday afternoon, the Panthers will be at home to the Knights, and I can't see anything but a Panthers winning this game.
By considerable margin.
Yeah. The second game of Saturday will be the West Tigers against the Dragons. Again, I think the Tigers are on a roll, and I think that they will comfortably
dispose of the
Dragons. I think the Dragons will try, but with no Widdop.
No Paul
Vaughan. A tired team. The Tigers will run up a reasonable score. I reckon they might win by 10.
I think they'll win by more than 10.
You think?
And I think the Rabbitohs will win by more than 10, and the Tigers will suddenly find themselves in 8th position.
Well, I won't be unhappy with if that happens because I'm no lover of the Broncos, and I don't hate the West Tigers. I think what they've done this year has been terrific. All right, and the Sunday games, I've just
Shark Park
just decided to turn off. So just announce
Actually,
that
it's not a Sunday game. It's still Saturday.
Oh, is it still Saturday?
Still Saturday. The 7:30 game at Shark Park, Southern Cross Group Stadium. The Sharks play the Cowboys, and the Sharks will win that comfortably, I think.
I'm not so convinced about that.
I am. The Cowboys look good with big Jason Tamalalo carting the ball up. When he goes off, they look like a sad team, and he's suspended for a week. So
he's suspended, is he?
Suspended for a shoulder charge,
yes.
which wasn't a shoulder charge.
Well, that will make a big difference. Yes, so I think, that's looking like a Sharks win to me.
Indeed.
Yeah. So Sunday afternoon, the first game will be the Bulldogs versus the Warriors. Look, I like the energy of the Bulldogs. I like the enthusiasm of the Bulldogs. I think the Warriors are desperate to win, and I think they'll be winning. I don't think it'll be a big win, but I think they'll be winning.
I'm going to go the Dogs.
Okay.
I think.
Remember, he got 2 out of 8 this week.
Hey, we've agreed on every game till this one. I think the Dogs have got a lot of heart, and I think that the Warriors are prone to fall over.
Well, they are. There's no doubt about it. And the last game of the round will be the Raiders hosting the Roosters. Danger game for the Roosters because they've been on a high. They've won a lot of games in a row. And the Raiders can put on a lot of points. They give away a lot of points. Our defence is going to have to be on.
Yep.
They play what can be entertaining football. Raiders. They throw the ball around. The Roosters are going to have to be on in their defence.
Roosters to win.
Oh, I think the Roosters should win this one.
Okay. Now, before we go, Tom, it's been a sad week in rugby league.
Yes.
Yes. One of the game's greats has announced his retirement at the end of the year.
It's obviously not Billy Slater.
No, one of my favourites, Jason Nightingale. Right. The man with limited ability. Well, I won't say limited ability.
That's a harsh call.
Well, undervalued, underrated. You'd have to say limited.
You can't say limited ability.
Well, you know what, but I will, because he takes every ounce of that, and he's played a massive number of tests and first grade games.
I'd say understated ability.
He's not the fastest. He's not the best defender. He's just the bloke who's always there.
No, I beg to differ.
I rate the guy. Jason, good luck on your retirement.
So he said, basically, Jason, you're hopeless in every manner, but I rate the
guy.
I
love you. You're an awesome Jason.
I thought his defence early on in his career was absolutely exceptional. Always Johnny on the spot.
Yep.
And knew how to score a try.
Going out a premiership winner.
Yeah.
But we should mention, Sally, there's another bloke retiring as well.
Yes, we know about him.
Yep.
Look, the best fullback I ever saw. There's no doubt about that. Didn't like his tactics in defence and on the line all the time, but there's no doubt you can't deny Billy Slater has changed the way fullbacks play the game, and well decorated. I just don't want him winning anything else.
He's already won the Clive Churchill Medal.
Yeah, according to some people, even if he doesn't play.
All right, well that's all we got.
It. Yep. So the show will be up in the next couple of days. So feel free to. Have a look. Of course, if you're having a look at this, you know it's up. You can see I'm not a good host. We look forward to you seeing the show and making comments on YouTube and on the Facebook site, NRL from the Sidelines. Brian,
that's it.
We shall see you next week.
Yes.
It'll be just the two of us again.
We'll do something for you, Steve. Don't you worry.
Yes, Steve. See you later.
Ciao.